Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV and my match reaction after Liverpool beat Bournemouth 4-2 at Anfield under the lights. Friday night footy, the Reds kicking off with a win. Never in doubt, was it? Wow. Listen, we're top of the league. Let's just hope we stay there forever. The attempt to retain our title, defence of our crown, kicks off in some style. I'd be lying to you if I said it was absolutely perfect. I'd be lying to you if I said that Arne Slot will be completely enamoured with everything he saw tonight. But ultimately, who's asked a little bit? It was insane. It was wild. Like, we do not do things in the easy way. We do not do things with any sort of semblance of calm, any sort of semblance of control very often, because my word, like, it was, and from start to finish, really, it was just a nuts game of footy, like end to end, proper basketball. Not the sort of game of footy that we've become accustomed to under Arne Slot. Actually, it was a bit of a throwback to more Jurgen days, really, because it was heavy metal. It really, really was, and we didn't see a lot of that last season. We saw far more measured, structured 2-0, we'll just keep the ball off you, come and get us if you can, arm's length type stuff. Oh no, not this Liverpool. And I'm not going to stand here and say that this is the new version of Liverpool 2.0 under Arne Slot. I don't believe that to be true. I am certain he will want to sort out some of the defensive issues and the frailties that we've got, because if we start with them, it was far too easy to get at us. Forget about the goals. Semenyo scores both, and he takes both pretty well, I think it's fair to say. And the first one's really well worked. The second one is just in transition, is just a counter-attack. He just carries it and carries it and carries it. No one engages with him. Konate's all over the place. He is a few times actually in the space of a 10-15 minute spell. He just loses his head, and his positioning goes and his decision making goes a little bit. Him and Van Dijk got some important headers and some blocks on some stuff, but both of them at times were a little bit all at sea. But credit to Semenyo and credit to Bournemouth for creating the chances and scoring the goals. But from our perspective, they're not pretty, either of them, because there's a 4v2 for the second one. Too many midfielders ahead of the ball, including Wataru Endo, who by that point has been brought on and shifted back into midfield after having a pretty forgettable spell at right back. We want to show up the game, we want to close the game down, and it's the opposite of that. Bournemouth have got freedom of Anfield to attack us, and they're attacking us at will, really, and it felt nervy. It felt like it was coming, and the warning signs were there throughout. So yeah, it was far from perfect, far from polished, but it was very Liverpool. It was very, very Liverpool. First half, it was similar in terms of the pattern, in terms of sort of the game state, and the fact that it was you attack, we attack, we'll have a little sustained spell of pressure, you do the same. And both teams had chances, but we took ours. Hugo Ekitike, and interestingly enough, he beats Senesi. Gets a little bit of luck in terms of it bouncing back off him and falls into his path, and he takes the goal beautifully, gives the keeper the eye seemingly, certainly waits for the keeper to make his decision, then slots it in the other side, and the celebrations boss to boot as well. So he's announced himself to Anfield now after his goal at Wembley last weekend, of course, and really, really good start to life as Liverpool player for him, and he looks the part. He really, really does in terms of everything that he does, his touches, his interactions, his chemistry with his fellow forwards and midfield, comes back to get the ball from deep, works hard off the ball as well. So been really mightily impressed with the early viewings of Hugo Ekitike, and again another goal tonight. But yeah, the fact it was Senesi was sweet, because inexplicably earlier on in the game, like 13 minutes in, it took 13 minutes for the referees and the PGMOL to come up with an absolutely ludicrous decision. Senesi, it might bounce off his arm in the first instance, but then he definitely tries to palm it away from Ekitike, gets fingertips on it, and changes the direction of travel of the ball, which doesn't allow Ekitike to run away, and he would have been clear. Through on goal. I don't care, it's on the halfway line. He's through, he's away, he's gone. No one's catching him. He's one-on-one with the keeper. Goal scoring opportunity. Whether he would have finished it or not, irrelevant. Early evidence suggests he might have done. And they give a free kick to Bournemouth. the VAR, Michael Oliver, Newcastle fan Michael Oliver. I don't know whether Liverpool are embroiled in anything with Newcastle right now that might make Newcastle fans a little bit angry. I'm not sure about that, but it just decides there's nothing doing and we carry on. And then the match centre thing comes out with some ludicrous explanation as well. It's just nonsense. But anyway, I'm wasting my breath on that because who's asked? Yeah, takes the goal lovely. And then we're off and running, and deservedly so as well. And yeah, it was it's still a first half full of too many chances for Bournemouth, I think it's fair to say. But in the second half, I felt like we started the second half well. And Cody Gakpo, this is another lovely goal. There's one moment where I think the ball's got away from him. He takes a slightly heavy touch, but he makes up for that by an absolutely lovely little feint. And we played some nice football along the way, actually, certainly in the early stages of the second half. Some lovely patterns of football and some stuff, some one-touch stuff with Florian Wirtz involved as well that make you think, okay, I can see what we're working towards here. And I think at full flow, in full fluidity, it will actually really be quite special. But again, there's too many breakdowns of communications. I think every now and then they're not on the same wavelength, and maybe the final ball wasn't quite at it at times too. But yeah, there are definitely signs there. But the second goal, Cody Gakpo, wonderful, wonderful goal. Like I say, just feints and the defender commits and he goes again. And then the finish is sublime. Low and hard into the bottom corner, keeper no chance, 2-0. And it all feels very, very comfortable. But as mentioned, that's not always the way with us. We should know better by now. And we allowed Bournemouth back into the game. And we allowed Bournemouth back into the game before we allowed them back into the game. And I alluded to it earlier on because they did grow in confidence. We gave them the momentum. I think the changes did that as well. Arne Slot went to the bench and maybe some of his decisions. I know he's a little bit hamstrung by what he's got at his disposal. Bringing on Joe Gomez. And Joe Gomez wasn't at fault for any of this, but I think the fact that he has turned to Joe Gomez after he's been back in training for a matter of days tells you that we are light in numbers and he hasn't quite got the options at his disposal that he might want. Conor Bradley's absent, of course. Ryan Gravenberch still not available. The bench did look a little bit under strength, I think it's fair to say. Ria Ngamoa, Trey Neone don't come on at all. Harvey Elliott's the one not used in terms of the outfield options. So yeah, it's just not where we want the squad to be at right now. We're all aware of that. That's why we're still getting links to Mark Gahey, the Isak stuff rumbling on. There's talk about a versatile wide man now as well. So yeah, we know. But I do think the changes and maybe a little bit lack of fitness as well allowed Bournemouth to grow in confidence and to grow into the game, and they capitalised. They really, really did. And I say Semenyo, who I like a lot, by the way. If Liverpool are looking for a versatile forward, you couldn't do much worse. Sorry, you could do much worse than Antoine Semenyo. He's a good player. There was an incident I should mention actually as well whilst I'm speaking about him. Seemingly someone was kicked out, ejected from Anfield for racially abusing Semenyo. The game was stopped midway through the first half. Andy Taylor went over to both benches and explained the situation to both managers. And if indeed that was the case, then it's deplorable, quite frankly. And yeah, not something we want to see at any football ground, and certainly not Anfield. So yeah, obviously I don't know the details at all, so I'm not going to comment any further on that. But yeah, they are the reports, and that is seemingly what happened. So yeah, hopefully not. But yeah. Just disgusting, quite frankly. But the big moments then come, and it did look like, again, when it was 2-2 and we lost control, you were starting to wonder, like, which way is this going to go? A little bit, because it was in the balance, not just in terms of the scoreline, but the way the game had swung completely. I should know better, but I did wonder, because we've been so vulnerable and susceptible in pre-season, and then it carried on today. I was a bit like, oh, God, this isn't good. But it's Liverpool, so who was I to panic? What was I panicking about? And we brought on Federico Chiesa, and the rest is history. It was a little bit written it was going to be Chiesa, I won't lie to you. There's just always narratives in football, and there's always a storyline, and Chiesa's had maybe other moments whereby it could have been written in the stars for him to be the hero. Federico Chiesa is now my hero, for what it's worth. There's always felt like there was a moment brewing for Federico. And that's in part because of the lack of chances he's had. The narrative around him's been a bit, why haven't we seen more of him? Clearly a world-class footballer on his day, who's fitness problems and all the rest of it in the song, and there's a real desire and a real want for him to do well at the football club, certainly from the fan base. And yeah, but again, there's always this uncertainty around his future, including for the next couple of weeks, in spite of what we've just witnessed. But he was the hero, and he took the goal lovely. Let's have it right. Like, the ball breaks into the box. Canate semi-challenges for it. Falls to Chiesa, who finishes, almost slices it outside the right boot, volley, and it's just going away from the keeper. And it's a boss finish, and you could see what it meant to him, pointing to himself, I'm the man, get on me, in front of the cop. That moment, that let off, and a really emotional night. The Jota tributes were outstanding. Andre Silva as well, like really, really emotional, touching night. You'll never walk alone before the match tonight. Obviously, I'm not in Anfield, unfortunately. I'm in the studio, but you could hear it. It meant so much more. And yeah, that noise that came out, that moment, and then the Chiesa song that followed was unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. I've already seen some clips from inside the ground. Just absolute raw emotion. And it came from him, it came from the fans, it came from Arne Slot, who was buzzing as well. Like, just that let off. That's what you do it for. That is what we all do it for, let's be honest. Just remarkable stuff. And then Mo Salah gets his obligatory goal on the opening day, of course. Yeah, which was nice. He had a bit of a nearly night, Mo, I think, in terms of his playmaking, in terms of his actual goal scoring chances. It'd been a bit of like not a what if, but like, yeah, he'd been at the heart of a lot of stuff. Some of his touches from switches were exceptional, and it felt like something was close to coming off, and eventually, of course, it does for Mo. But the story of the night is Federico Chiesa. Let's be honest, like, he is gonna make the headlines. He's here to win, and he won it. Like, the fourth goal, although I did predict 4-2 pre-match, the fourth goal is almost irrelevant. Like, I love the fact we scored it, and obviously it's a nice little boost of the goal difference, and Mo Salah gets his goal and all the rest of it. But that 3-2 goal, that 3-2 moment is the moment that makes tonight, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. Like, in terms of the football and what went on there, just remarkable stuff. Anyway, I'll stop talking now because I need to go, and my arm is aching quite a lot. Sound, thanks for watching me babble on about all this sort of stuff. Like I say, some really serious moments along the way which shouldn't be forgotten about for a variety of reasons and should be dealt with. And again, the Jota stuff was really poignant and moving and fitting once again. Hats off to Liverpool. Hats off to the Bournemouth fans involved in that as well. They're worthy of a mention too. But yeah, Federico Chiesa wins it. Liverpool top of the league. Get used to that. Sound. Thanks again. Do stick around for all the content that we do from the ground, in the studio, and of course next week, because it's going to be a busy couple of weeks of transfers. Fortnight left in the window, starting on Monday. Let's see what happens. Take care. Enjoy your weekends. Goodbye.